The encounter. The night was unnaturally quiet, as if the world itself held its breath. Dr. Liam Carter sat alone in his dimly lit laboratory, surrounded by screens and blinking equipment. For years, he had scanned the skies, hoping for a breakthrough, something extraordinary. But what appeared on his monitor that night was beyond anything he had ever imagined. A message flashed across the screen, clear and deliberate. "You have one chance to meet me, human, tonight, or regret it forever." Liam stared at the words, his heart racing. The message was not from any known satellite or human source. It had no identifiable origin, yet it was in perfect English. "Is this a joke?" he muttered to himself, pushing his glasses up his nose. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. His equipment wasn't capable of generating such a signal on its own. The message repeated, and this time coordinates appeared. A location deep within Blackridge Forest, miles away from any human settlement. Against his better judgment, Liam grabbed his jacket, flashlight, and a portable recording device. Something about the message pulled at him, a mix of fear and curiosity he couldn't resist. Blackridge Forest was darker than he had expected. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches forming a canopy that blocked the moonlight. Liam's footsteps crunched on the dry leaves as he followed the coordinates on his GPS. "This is insane," he whispered, his breath visible in the cold night air. "Chasing a signal in the middle of nowhere. What am I even hoping to find?" But he pressed on, drawn by a strange energy he couldn't explain. As he moved deeper into the forest, his GPS began to glitch, the signal wavering. Suddenly, his flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows around him. That's when he saw it. At first, it looked like a massive boulder, half buried in the earth. But as he approached, the boulder shimmered, its surface shifting like liquid metal. A faint, otherworldly hum filled the air, vibrating through his chest. It wasn't a boulder, it was a ship. Liam's breath caught in his throat. The ship was unlike anything he'd ever seen, both alien and strangely organic. Before he could take another step, a figure emerged from the ship, stepping into the soft glow of its light. It was a woman, or something resembling one. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like starlight and eyes that glowed faintly blue. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, moving gently as if stirred by an invisible breeze. "Dr. Liam Carter," she said, her voice melodic yet commanding. Liam froze, his flashlight trembling in his hand. How do you know my name?" "I know many things about you," she replied, her gaze piercing. "You are the one who answered my call. I am Elira, and I have come for you." "For me?" he echoed, his voice shaking. "Why me? What do you want?" Elira took a step closer, her movements fluid and graceful. "You have unlocked something extraordinary, something no other human has managed. Your work in quantum energy has sent ripples across the universe, a beacon that led me here." Liam shook his head, struggling to process her words. "You're saying, my research? That's impossible. It was just theoretical. No practical applications, no tests. Yet it reached me," Elira interrupted. "And now you must make a choice." Liam felt his knees weaken, but he forced himself to stand tall. "A choice? What kind of choice?" Elira's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. "Your world and mine are connected in ways you cannot yet understand. Both are in danger. My people have sent me here to form an alliance, but there is only one way to secure it. A bond between us. A bond." Liam repeated, his mind racing. "What does that even mean?" "It is not something I can explain in words," Elira said. "It is an emotional and biological connection, one that will tie our fates together. Without it, both our worlds are doomed." Liam stepped back, his instincts screaming at him to run. "This is crazy. I don't even know you, and you're asking me to bond with you, to save the world. How do I even know you're telling the truth?" Elira's glowing eyes dimmed slightly, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. You humans always demand proof, yet you ignore the truth when it is before you. Look around, Liam. Do you think any of this is a coincidence? He glanced at the shimmering ship, the impossible technology, and the woman who seemed to defy the laws of nature. It was undeniable. This was real. But doubt still gnawed at him. "And if I refuse?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elira's gaze hardened. "Then I will leave, and you will never hear from me again. But know this, the consequences of your refusal will ripple far beyond your understanding. Your world will not survive what is coming." Liam stood in silence, his mind a whirlwind of fear, doubt, and curiosity. This was everything he had ever dreamed of. Proof of life beyond Earth. A chance to make history. Yet it came with a price he wasn't sure he was willing to pay. Elira extended her hand toward him, her expression both hopeful and urgent. "You have one chance, Liam. Decide now, or regret it forever." The hum of the ship grew louder, as if time itself was running out. Liam stared at her outstretched hand, his heart pounding. And then, with trembling fingers, he reached out to take it. The moment his hand touched hers, a wave of energy surged through him, and the world around them seemed to dissolve into light. The encounter had begun. The offer. The forest was still, as if nature itself was afraid to interrupt. Liam felt the faint warmth of Elira's hand against his, but it was not just warmth, it was energy. The kind of energy that seeped through his skin and into his very soul. His breath hitched as visions danced before his eyes, stars collapsing, alien landscapes in ruin, and the unmistakable sound of countless voices crying out. In an instant, it was over. Liam staggered back, pulling his hand away as if burned. What was that?" he gasped, his chest rising and falling in panic. Elira stood calmly, her glowing eyes watching him. "A glimpse," she said softly. "A glimpse of what is at stake." "Stake?" Liam spat, his voice rising. "You show me some cosmic horror movie in my head, and now I'm supposed to trust you. Tell me what's going on. No riddles, no cryptic nonsense. Why are you here, and what do you want from me?" Elira tilted her head, as if considering his words. "Very well," she said. "But know this. The truth will not make this easier for you." She gestured to the ship behind her, and a faint light emanated from its surface, forming a translucent sphere around them. The sounds of the forest vanished, replaced by an eerie silence. "This is a secure field," Elira explained. "Your world has ears everywhere, and what I am about to tell you cannot be overheard." Liam crossed his arms, trying to mask his unease. "Fine. Talk." Elira's voice was calm, but carried an edge of urgency. "My people come from a planet called Erythian, a world once thriving with life, much like your Earth. But a cosmic anomaly, an energy collapse in our star system, threatens to obliterate everything. We have mere cycles left before our planet is consumed. And what does that have to do with me?" Liam interrupted. Elira's glowing eyes locked onto his. "Everything. Your experiments with quantum energy, though primitive by our standards, created a resonance across dimensions. It was a call, a beacon, that reached Erythian when we were on the brink of hopelessness. It told us that your world holds the solution." Liam frowned, his skepticism returning. "You're telling me my theoretical work somehow reached another galaxy? That's impossible. What you deem impossible is merely a limitation of your understanding," Elira said, her tone sharp. "The quantum resonance you created is more than theory. It is the key to stabilizing the anomaly threatening Erythian. But it is not just technology we need. What else could you possibly want?" Elira hesitated for the first time, her expression unreadable. "A bond. An alliance. Between your kind and mine." Liam blinked, confused. "An alliance? Isn't that what diplomats are for? Why are you talking about a bond?" Elira stepped closer, her presence both mesmerizing and intimidating. This is not a political alliance, Liam. It is a biological connection, one that ties our species together on a fundamental level. The energy collapse affecting Erythian is spreading, and it will reach Earth in time. By forming this bond, we can stabilize both worlds and ensure mutual survival. And what does this bond involve? Liam asked warily. It is a merging of minds and emotions, Alyra said. Our people do not form bonds lightly. It is a sacred connection, one that requires trust, vulnerability, and commitment. Without it, the resonance you created will fade, and both our worlds will fall. Liam ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling over. You're asking for too much. I barely know you. I don't even know if I can trust you. Alyra's gaze softened, but there was a sadness in her glowing eyes. I understand your hesitation. But know this, I have sacrificed everything to come here. I left my family, my people, and my home behind, knowing I might not return. I do this because it is the only way. Your world may not see it now, but the danger is real. Liam paced inside the glowing sphere, trying to make sense of it all. His logical mind screamed at him to walk away, to report this to someone who could handle it. NASA, the government, anyone but him. But there was something in Alyra's voice, something genuine, that gnawed at his doubt. And what if I say no? He asked, stopping to face her. Alyra's expression hardened. Then I will leave, as I promised. But know this, the anomaly will not stop. It will spread across the universe, devouring everything in its path. Earth may have more time than Erythian, but the outcome will be the same. So it's an ultimatum, Liam said bitterly. It is a choice, Alyra corrected, and one that only you can make. Your work called me here, Liam. Your actions set this in motion. Now you must decide whether to embrace your destiny or let both our worlds perish. Liam stared at her, his thoughts a tangled mess of fear, anger, and curiosity. Could he really trust this alien woman? Was she telling the truth, or was this some elaborate trick? And if she was lying, what could he even do about it? As if sensing his turmoil, Alyra spoke again, her voice softer this time. You are not alone in this, Liam. The bond is not a burden. It is a partnership. Together, we can achieve what neither of us could do alone. Liam's shoulders sagged as the weight of her words settled on him. He had spent his entire life searching for something bigger than himself, something extraordinary. And now, here it was, staring him in the face. Alyra extended her hand once more, her expression a mix of hope and determination. This is your chance, Liam. One chance to save not just one world, but two. The choice is yours. Liam hesitated, his mind racing with possibilities and consequences, and then, with a deep breath, he reached out and took her hand. The bond had begun. The bond. The world around Liam seemed to dissolve the moment his hand clasped Alyra's. Colors blurred into one another, the forest fading into an endless expanse of light and shadow. He felt weightless, as though he had stepped into a dream or a nightmare. His chest tightened, and 1,000 whispers flooded his mind, overlapping, incoherent yet strangely familiar. What's happening to me? Liam's voice was shaky, but it felt distant, as if it were someone else speaking. This is the bond, Alyra replied, her voice calm but firm. Do not fight it. Let it guide you. Before Liam could respond, the light around him pulsed, and he was no longer in the forest. He stood in a vast alien city. Towers of translucent crystal stretched into the sky, their surfaces shimmering with colors that seemed to shift with the wind. The ground beneath him glowed faintly, pulsating like a heartbeat. This is Erythian, Alyra said, appearing beside him. She was unchanged, her glowing eyes fixed on the cityscape, or rather, a memory of it. This is what my people are fighting to save. Liam turned in awe, but as he watched, the city began to darken. The crystals cracked, the glowing streets dimmed, and a shadow crept over the horizon. A deafening roar shook the ground as the sky split open, revealing a swirling void of darkness. "Is this what's happening to your planet?" Liam asked, his voice trembling. Elira nodded, her expression somber. "The anomaly. It consumes everything in its path. Energy, matter, even time. This is what awaits us if we fail." Liam felt a surge of fear, but before he could speak, the vision shifted. He was now in his own lab, surrounded by his research notes and equipment. He saw himself, hunched over a desk, scribbling furiously in a notebook. The version of himself in the vision looked younger, more hopeful. "This is where it began," Elira said, stepping forward. "Your work in quantum resonance created the beacon that reached us. But it was more than a call. It was a connection, one that linked your world to mine." The scene dissolved again, and Liam was back in the light-filled void. His heart raced as he turned to Elira. "What does this bond mean for me? For us?" Elira stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "The bond is not just an alliance. It is a merging of our essences, our minds, our emotions, and our energies. Through it, we share strength, knowledge, and vulnerabilities. It is not a decision to be taken lightly." Liam frowned, the weight of her words sinking in. "You're asking me to share my mind with you. My emotions. That's invasive." Elira's expression softened. "I understand your hesitation, but this is the only way. The bond is a bridge between our species, one that will allow us to stabilize the anomaly. Without it, we have no hope." "And what happens to me?" Liam asked. "Will I still be me?" "You will remain yourself," Elira said, "but you will also carry a part of me, as I will carry a part of you. The bond is not a loss. It is an expansion of who you are." Before Liam could respond, a surge of energy rippled through the void. He felt it coursing through him, filling him with sensations he couldn't describe. Memories not his own flashed before his eyes. Moments of joy, sorrow, and fear. He saw Elira as a child, playing in the glowing fields of Erythian. He felt her pain as she watched her world begin to collapse, her people's desperation as they searched for a solution. Tears welled in Liam's eyes as the visions overwhelmed him. I can feel it. Your pain, your hope. It's too much." Elira placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch grounding him. "This is the bond, Liam. It is not just about saving worlds. It is about understanding, about connection. This is what makes us stronger." The energy around them intensified, and Liam felt his own memories rising to the surface. He saw flashes of his childhood, moments of triumph and failure, the loneliness he had buried beneath his work. He felt exposed, vulnerable, yet strangely comforted. Elira's voice broke through the chaos. "Do you see now, Liam? The bond is not a burden. It is a gift." As the visions faded, Liam found himself back in the forest. The glowing sphere around them flickered and disappeared, leaving only the hum of the ship in the background. He looked at Elira, his chest still heaving from the experience. "That was intense," he said, his voice shaky. "It is only the beginning," Elira replied. "The bond has been formed, but its strength depends on trust and cooperation. Together, we can face what lies ahead. But if you falter, so will the bond." Liam nodded, though uncertainty lingered in his mind. He had taken the first step into a world he didn't fully understand, bound to a woman, an alien he had just met. Yet, despite his fears, he felt a strange sense of purpose, as if this was what he had been searching for all along. "What now?" he asked. Elira turned toward the ship, her glowing eyes scanning the dark forest. "Now we prepare. The bond has drawn attention, both from allies and enemies. The fight for survival has only just begun." Liam swallowed hard, his hands clenching into fists. He didn't know what was coming, but one thing was clear: there was no turning back. The chase. The forest was alive with tension. Every rustle of leaves and crack of twigs sent Liam's heart racing. Alira stood ahead of him, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows, her body tense like a predator sensing danger. The bond between them pulsed faintly, an unspoken connection that carried her urgency straight into his chest. "They're here," Alira whispered, her voice barely audible. "Who?" Liam asked, his throat dry. "Humans," she replied, her tone sharp. "But not like you. They seek power, not understanding." Liam opened his mouth to respond, but a sharp metallic sound cut through the air, a snap followed by a low hum. A sudden flash of light illuminated the forest, revealing shadowy figures armed with weapons that hummed with unfamiliar energy. "Move," Alira hissed, grabbing his arm and pulling him into the darkness. The two darted between trees, the faint glow of Alira's ship disappearing behind them. Liam's lungs burned as he struggled to keep up, his boots slipping on the damp forest floor. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Footsteps, voices barking orders, and the unmistakable hum of advanced weaponry. "Who are they?" Liam panted, nearly tripping over a root. "Rogues," Alira said without slowing. "Humans who intercepted the beacon and see it as an opportunity to exploit. They want my technology. For war, for profit, it doesn't matter. If they capture me, both our worlds are doomed." Liam felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary scientist, content to work quietly in his lab. Now he was running for his life with an alien companion, hunted by people who would stop at nothing to claim her. A sudden burst of light shot past them, striking a tree and sending splinters flying. Liam ducked instinctively, his heart pounding in his ears. "They're getting closer," he shouted. Alira stopped abruptly, her glowing skin flaring brighter as she raised a hand. A faint ripple spread through the air, and the pursuing figures stumbled, clutching their heads as if struck by an invisible force. "Keep moving," she ordered, her voice firm but strained. "What did you just do?" Liam asked, his voice trembling. "A temporary disruption," Alira replied. "It will not hold them for long." As they pressed on, Liam noticed Alira slowing. Her steps faltered, and the glow of her skin dimmed slightly. "You're hurt," he said, stopping to steady her. "I'm fine," she insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. "The energy I used to shield us, it takes a toll. I cannot sustain it much longer." The forest opened into a small clearing, moonlight spilling onto the ground. Alira paused, her gaze sweeping the area. "We'll make our stand here," she said. "Stand? Against them? Are you insane?" Liam's voice cracked with panic. "I cannot keep running," Alira said, turning to face him. "And neither can you. The bond has given you strength, more than you realize. You must trust me." Liam stared at her, his mind racing. He had never fought anyone in his life, let alone armed pursuers with alien technology. But something in Alira's voice steadied him, a calm amidst the chaos. "Fine," he said, his hand shaking. "What do we do?" Alira knelt in the center of the clearing, placing her hands on the ground. The faint glow of her skin spread to the earth beneath her, creating a pulsing circle of light. "This will amplify the bond," she said. "It will not harm you, but you must stay within the circle." "And what about them?" Liam asked, glancing nervously at the edge of the clearing. "They will face the consequences of their greed," Alira replied, her tone cold. Moments later, the rogues emerged from the shadows, their weapons trained on the two of them. There were 5 of them, each clad in dark, tactical gear that gleamed faintly under the moonlight. "Step away from the alien," one of them barked, his voice mechanical through a helmet. "This doesn't concern you, scientist." Liam swallowed hard, his legs trembling. "You don't understand. She's trying to save us, to save everything." "Save us?" The man scoffed. "That's cute. Hand her over, and maybe we'll let you walk away." Liam glanced at Alira, who remained calm, Her eyes closed as the light around her grew brighter. "I can't do that," Liam said, surprising even himself with the steadiness in his voice. "Wrong answer," the man growled, raising his weapon. Before he could fire, the light from the circle surged outward, blindingly bright. Liam shielded his eyes as a wave of energy swept through the clearing, knocking the rogues off their feet. Their weapons fizzled and sparked, rendered useless. Alyra rose to her feet, her glowing eyes fixed on the leader. "You have no understanding of what you seek," she said, her voice reverberating with a power that made the air tremble. "Leave now, and I will spare you. Persist, and you will face the wrath of a dying world." The leader hesitated, clearly unnerved, but his greed outweighed his fear. "Take her," he shouted to his team. But before they could move, the energy around Alyra exploded outward, creating a shimmering barrier that encased the clearing. The rogues pounded on it futilely, their shouts muffled. Liam stepped closer to Alyra, his fear giving way to awe. "How are you doing this?" he asked. "The bond," she said simply. "Your trust strengthens me. Together, we are more than either of us could be alone." The barrier held long enough for the rogues to retreat, their leader cursing as they disappeared into the forest. When the light finally faded, Alyra staggered, her strength clearly drained. Liam caught her before she fell, his hand steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through him. "You saved us," he said, his voice filled with both relief and admiration. "No," Alyra corrected, her voice barely above a whisper. "We saved each other." As the forest fell silent once more, Liam realized that the bond between them was more than just a connection. It was a lifeline, one that would be tested again and again in the battles to come. Betrayal. The night had grown eerily quiet after the skirmish, but Liam could feel the weight of the forest pressing in on them. Alyra's breathing was shallow as she leaned against a tree, her glowing skin now dim, almost translucent. The power she had used to repel the attackers had left her visibly drained. "We need to keep moving," Liam said, his voice hushed but urgent. Alyra shook her head slowly. "No, they won't return immediately. They've seen what I can do, and they will regroup before striking again." Liam crouched beside her, placing a hand on her arm. Despite his initial reservations, the bond had begun to feel real, a tether that pulsed faintly in his chest, urging him to protect her. "You need to rest," he said, his tone soft. She gave him a faint smile, though it was tinged with exhaustion. "And so do you, Liam Carter. But there is no time for rest, not for either of us." Before Liam could argue, a sharp crack echoed through the forest. His head snapped toward the sound, every nerve in his body on edge. "That wasn't them," Alyra said, her voice low. "That was something else." The pair moved cautiously through the undergrowth, the darkness around them feeling heavier with each step. Liam's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts about Alyra, the bond, the pursuers, and the weight of the responsibility he had unknowingly taken on. As they emerged into a clearing, a figure stepped out from the shadows, illuminated faintly by the moonlight. Liam froze, his heart sinking as recognition dawned. It was Dr. Marcus Holden, his former research partner and closest friend, or so Liam had thought. "Marcus?" Liam's voice wavered with confusion and relief. "What are you doing here?" Marcus raised his hands in a gesture of mock surrender, a smirk playing on his lips. "Liam, old friend, fancy meeting you in the middle of nowhere. What's going on?" Liam asked, stepping forward. "How did you find me?" "I could ask you the same thing," Marcus said, his tone casual but laced with something darker. His gaze shifted to Alyra, his smirk widening. "And who's your luminous friend?" Alyra stepped closer to Liam, her eyes narrowing. "He's not here by chance," she said, her voice cold. "What are you talking about?" Liam asked, looking between her and Marcus. "Don't play dumb, Liam," Marcus said, his voice sharp now. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice? All those late nights, All those little breakthroughs you conveniently forgot to mention. I saw the patterns in your work. I knew you were onto something big. So, I followed the trail. Liam's stomach churned as the pieces fell into place. You leaked my research. Marcus shrugged, his expression unapologetic. I had to. Do you have any idea what this could mean? The power, the advancements. Governments would pay billions for what you've stumbled onto. And this, he gestured toward Alyra. This is the jackpot. Alyra's eyes glowed faintly, and Liam could feel her anger through the bond. You betrayed him, she said, her voice steady but charged with emotion. Betrayed. Marcus laughed bitterly. Come on, Liam. Don't tell me you're buying into her sob story. She's manipulating you, using you. That's what they do. Aliens, otherworldly beings. They don't care about us. They see us as tools, pawns in their cosmic games. That's not true, Liam shot back, his voice rising. She's trying to save her people, and us. The anomaly she's talking about isn't just their problem. It's coming for Earth too. Marcus shook his head, his expression twisting with contempt. And you believe her? Just like that? God, Liam, you've always been gullible. But don't worry, I'll take it from here. He pulled a small device from his pocket, its surface glowing faintly with alien symbols. Alyra stiffened immediately, her glow dimming further. That's Erythian technology, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus grinned. You're not the only one with tricks up your sleeve, sweetheart. Your pursuers, they're working for me. You're not going anywhere. Liam's chest tightened as the bond surged with Alyra's fear and pain. Marcus, stop this, he said, stepping in front of her. You don't understand what you're dealing with. This isn't just some experiment gone wrong. This is bigger than us, bigger than anything we've ever faced. Oh, I understand perfectly, Marcus replied, his voice dripping with arrogance. This is an opportunity, and I'm not letting it slip through my fingers because you've suddenly grown a conscience. Alyra staggered slightly, clutching Liam's arm for support. Through the bond, he could feel her weakening, her energy sapped not just by the chase, but by the presence of the alien device. You need to destroy it, she whispered to Liam, her voice faint. That device, it disrupts the bond. If it fully activates. Liam's heart raced. He turned to Marcus, desperation in his eyes. Marcus, listen to me. That thing is dangerous. If you activate it, you'll do more than just sever the bond. You could destabilize the energy fields connecting our worlds. You'll doom us all. Marcus sneered. Nice try, but I'm not falling for it. In a sudden burst of determination, Liam lunged for the device. Marcus reacted quickly, shoving him back, but not before Liam managed to knock the device to the ground. You idiot! Marcus shouted, scrambling to retrieve it. Before he could reach it, Alyra summoned the last of her strength, sending a pulse of energy toward the device. It sparked violently, emitting a high-pitched whine before exploding in a flash of light. Marcus was thrown backward, landing hard on the ground. He groaned in pain but was otherwise unharmed. Liam turned to Alyra, who collapsed against him, her glow now barely perceptible. You destroyed it, he said, relief flooding his voice. For now, she whispered, but the danger is far from over. Marcus struggled to his feet, his expression a mix of rage and disbelief. You've made a huge mistake, Liam. This isn't over. Liam watched as his former friend disappeared into the forest, his threats lingering in the air like a storm cloud. As the forest grew silent once more, Liam looked down at Alyra, cradling her gently. We'll figure this out, he said, his voice firm. Together. Despite her exhaustion, Alyra managed a faint smile. The bond holds, she said softly. And so do you, Liam Carter. For the first time, Liam felt the weight of his choice, but also the strength it gave him. The fight wasn't over, but he wasn't alone. Together, they would face whatever came next. The revelation. The dawn broke over the forest, casting long shadows on the ground. Liam and Alira had taken shelter in a small, abandoned cabin, its wooden walls worn but sturdy. The faint smell of damp wood and moss filled the air. Liam sat by the small, cracked window, his eyes scanning the forest edge for any signs of Marcus or the rogue faction. Alira rested on a makeshift cot, her glow now barely a flicker. "You're not healing," Liam said, his voice heavy with concern. Alira opened her eyes, the faint glow of her irises dimmer than before. "The bond sustains me," she replied, her voice soft. "But it is not enough. The disruption caused by that device weakened our connection." Liam clenched his fists, frustration boiling inside him. If Marcus hadn't betrayed us, if I had stopped him sooner. Alira interrupted, her tone firm despite her weariness. "Blame will not serve us, Liam. What matters now is what comes next." "What does come next?" Liam asked, his voice tinged with desperation. "Because right now, it feels like we're running in circles, fighting battles we can't win." Alira sat up slowly, wincing as she did. "Then it's time you knew the full truth," she said. Liam leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "What truth?" "You've already told me about the anomaly, the bond, and the connection between our worlds. What else is there?" Alira's glowing eyes met his, their light flickering like a dying flame. "The anomaly is not a natural event," she said, her voice steady but heavy with meaning. "It was created, intentionally." Liam froze, his breath catching. "What do you mean, created? By who?" "By us," Alira admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. "By my people." The room fell silent, the weight of her words pressing down like a physical force. Liam shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. "You're saying your people caused this, the thing that's destroying your world and threatening mine?" "It was a mistake," Alira said quickly. "An experiment meant to harness energy on a scale never seen before. We sought to stabilize our planet's decaying core, to give Erethian a second chance, but something went wrong. The energy field we created collapsed, and the anomaly was born. It began consuming everything in its path." Liam felt his stomach churn. "And now it's heading for Earth." Alira nodded. "The bond between our worlds, created by your resonance signal, has made Earth its next target. Without intervention, the anomaly will reach your planet within a matter of years." Liam paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "So this whole time, you've known it was your people's fault. And you didn't tell me." "I withheld the truth because I feared it would break your trust," Alira said. "But you deserve to know. You are not just a bystander in this, Liam. You are the only one who can help me stop it." "Why me?" Liam demanded, his voice rising. "Why not someone else? Someone more qualified? I'm just a scientist, not some intergalactic hero." "The resonance you created is unique," Alira explained. "It is tied to you, to your very essence. No one else can replicate it. That is why the bond chose you. And why I chose you." Liam turned away, his thoughts racing. The weight of Alira's revelation threatened to crush him. He had always wanted to be part of something bigger, but this was too much. Before he could respond, a loud crack echoed through the forest. Liam darted to the window, his heart pounding. He saw a group of figures moving toward the cabin, their dark silhouettes unmistakable. "They found us," he said, his voice tense. Alira stood, her movements slow but deliberate. "We cannot stay here. If they capture me, they will use me. And the bond, for their own purposes." Liam grabbed a small bag containing the essentials they had scavenged. "Then we'll run," he said, determination hardening his voice. "No," Alira said firmly. "It is time to stop running." "What are you talking about?" Liam asked, turning to face her. "There is one chance to end this," Alira said. "The anomaly can be reversed, but only from its point of origin. Erethian. We must go there, together." Liam stared at her, the enormity of her words sinking in. Go there? As in, to your planet. How? Your ship is damaged, and even if we get it working, what happens if we fail? Alyra stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. The faint pulse of the bond flowed between them, steadying him. If we fail, both our worlds will perish. But if we succeed, we can undo the damage and give both planets a chance to heal. Before Liam could respond, the door to the cabin burst open, and the rogues stormed in, weapons drawn. Marcus stepped into the room behind them, his smug expression making Liam's blood boil. End of the line, Liam, Marcus said, his voice dripping with mockery. Hand her over, and I might let you live. Liam stepped in front of Alyra, his hands clenched into fists. You'll have to kill me first. Marcus smirked. If that's what it takes. But before he could give the order, Alyra raised her hand. A pulse of energy shot through the room, throwing the rogues back. Marcus stumbled but remained standing, his face twisted with rage. This isn't over, he spat, retreating as the others scrambled to follow. As the door slammed shut, Alyra swayed, her strength clearly spent. Liam caught her, his arms steady despite the chaos. We need to move, she said weakly. Not just move, Liam replied, his voice resolute. We need to finish this. We're going to Erythian. Alyra managed a faint smile, the glow in her eyes flickering back to life. Then let us begin. As they stepped out into the dawn, Liam felt the bond strengthen, a quiet reassurance that they were not alone. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, he felt ready to face it. Together, they would fight, not just for survival, but for hope. The final choice. The atmosphere aboard Alyra's ship was electric, thrumming with the energy of the bond that connected them. Liam stood at the control console, staring out at the void of space, the distant glow of Erythian's dying star, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to find another way. But there was no other way. Alyra had made that clear. You're quiet, Alyra said, her voice soft but strained. She was seated in the ship's healing pod, her body recovering from the strain of their last encounter with Marcus and the rogue faction. I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this, Liam replied, not turning to face her. We're flying into a collapsing world to undo a cosmic disaster your people accidentally created. No pressure, right? Alyra smiled faintly, though her glow was dim. I know this is overwhelming, Liam, but you've come this far. The bond has chosen you for a reason. Yeah, well, the bond didn't give me a manual, he muttered, his hands gripping the edge of the console. The ship's eye chimed, its tone cold and precise, approaching Erythian's atmosphere. Brace for turbulence. Liam strapped himself into the co-pilot's seat, glancing at Alyra. Her eyes were closed, her breathing steady, but he could feel her tension through the bond. As the ship began its descent, the turbulence rocked them violently, the craft's shield struggling against the chaotic forces of the anomaly. Through the viewport, Erythian came into view, a planet cloaked in swirling clouds of energy, its surface fractured and glowing with molten rivers. The sight was both beautiful and horrifying. This is what we're trying to save, Liam asked, his voice tinged with doubt. Not just the planet, Alyra said, opening her eyes. The people, the memories, the connection to everything we hold dear, and your world will follow if we fail. The ship landed with a jarring thud in what was once a lush valley, now a desolate wasteland. The air shimmered with heat and energy, and the ground trembled beneath their feet as they stepped out. Alyra led Liam toward a massive structure in the distance, a crystalline tower that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. That's the core, Alyra explained. It's where the anomaly began, and it's where we'll end it. Liam nodded, though his stomach churned with unease. And what exactly is the plan? You said we could reverse this, but how? Alyra stopped, turning to face him, Her expression was grave. The core is connected to the anomaly. To stabilize it, we must channel the bond into its matrix, resetting the energy fields. But it will require everything the bond can give us. What does that mean? Liam asked, though he already suspected the answer. Alira hesitated, her glow flickering. It means one of us must remain connected to the core permanently. The bond's energy will stabilize the anomaly, but the one who stays will not survive. Liam's heart sank. So that's it. One of us has to die to save everyone else. Yes, Alira said, her voice barely above a whisper. And it must be me. No, Liam said immediately, shaking his head. Absolutely not. There has to be another way. There isn't, Alira said firmly. The bond is tied to both of us. But my people created this disaster. It is my responsibility to end it. Liam clenched his fists, anger and desperation bubbling to the surface. I didn't come all this way just to lose you, Alira. You said the bond is about connection, about partnership. We're in this together. Alira stepped closer, placing a hand on his chest. Through the bond, he felt her resolve, her acceptance of what needed to be done. Liam, you've given me something I never thought I would feel again. Hope. But my path was set long before we met. This is the only way. Their argument was cut short as the ground beneath them shook violently. The sky above darkened, the anomaly's swirling energy descending like a storm. The core tower pulsed erratically, its light flickering. We're out of time, Alira said, urgency replacing her sorrow. They ran toward the tower, its entrance glowing faintly as it recognized Alira's presence. Inside, the air hummed with energy, and a massive crystalline chamber awaited them. At its center was the core, a pulsating sphere of light and shadow, surrounded by streams of chaotic energy. Alira approached it, her glow intensifying. The process will begin when I enter the matrix, she explained. Once the bond is fully engaged, you must leave. The energy will be too much for you to withstand. Liam grabbed her arm, his voice trembling. There has to be another way. Let me do it. Alira shook her head, tears glistening in her glowing eyes. The bond would not hold without me. You are the key to stabilizing the resonance on Earth. Your world still needs you. Before Liam could protest further, the core surged, sending a shockwave through the chamber. Alira stepped into the matrix, her body merging with the streams of energy. Her glow intensified, and Liam felt the bond surge within him, filling him with both strength and unbearable sorrow. Alira, he shouted, stepping toward her, but a barrier of light blocked his path. Through the bond, her voice echoed in his mind. Live, Liam, carry our connection forward. Save your world. Remember me. The core's light grew blinding, and Liam was forced to shield his eyes. He felt the bond snap, a searing pain in his chest as Alira's presence faded. When the light subsided, the chamber was silent. The core pulsed steadily, its energy calm and contained. The anomaly above Erythian dissipated, leaving the sky clear for the first time in years. Liam fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He had saved 2 worlds, but the cost was immeasurable. As he returned to the ship, the bond's absence left an ache in his soul. Yet, in its place, he felt something else. A quiet strength, a spark of Alira's essence that lingered within him. Liam gazed at Erythian one last time before setting the ship's course for Earth. Alira's sacrifice had given him and his planet a chance to thrive, and he vowed to honor her memory by protecting the connection she had fought so hard to preserve. As the ship soared into the stars, Liam whispered, I won't forget you, Alira. Not ever. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of the cosmos, the bond's echo remained, a testament to love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable ties between 2 worlds.